is Entertainment Tonight, and you're watching Dallas, The Secrets of Southfork.
The stars of Dallas experience personal tragedies, just like their on-screen characters.
From Ken Kercheval's lung cancer to Linda Gray's divorce to the death of patriarch Jim Davis, not even the soap opera of Southfork could stop their real-life dramas.
I knew that Jim was dying. We all did. You know, nothing prepares you.
He had a series of migraine headaches over the years, and later on, this was diagnosed as brain cancer.
They brought a trailer kind of thing on the set, so he didn't have far to walk. And he wanted to be there. He wanted to be on the set.
Jim Davis toiled for years in Western B movies with titles like Jesse James Meets Frankenstein's Daughter. But being cast as Jock Ewing was the biggest break of his career, and he loved it. On a trip to Great Britain after the second season, he was at Buckingham Palace to see the changing of the guard ceremony when hundreds of fans mobbed him.
And those big guards with the large hats, they said, Mr. Ewing, if you could just please step inside the gates here, please, sir. And he came back and he told this story. And it was such a wonderful thing because Jim was in his 70s at that time. And he said, gee, you know, I've had a few good shots in my career, but I finally become a success.
Jim's death after the show's third season hit the cast hard. Maybe the most devastated was Victoria Principal, who read one of Davis's eulogies and shared a strong bond with the actor.
Jim had a daughter, Tara, his only child, who passed away in a car accident when she was in her teens. And unbeknownst to me, we bore an uncanny resemblance to one another. And so from the time that we began working together, we had a very special paternal and relationship. In fact, I know that when Jim died, one of the photographs in his wallet was of me and one of Tara.
Another Dallas star who faced personal turmoil was Linda Gray, who, for 11 seasons, played the booze-swilling Sue Ellen Ewing.
We got sort of a routine here, you know.
In 1983, at the height of the show's popularity, she fought through a highly publicized divorce from husband Ed Thrasher. At the time, she declined to speak about it.
In hindsight, I probably should have said, you know, this is what's going on in my life. Unfortunately, it's, you know, the end of my marriage. But I chose not to do that because I frankly felt that it was nobody's business.
When her character went off to London to never return, it meant a drastic change in real life for Gray.
I found I didn't want to wear makeup. I didn't want anyone touching my hair, putting a powder puff near my face. It was kind of like shedding a skin. I mean, it was like being dropped from another planet back on Earth. And, I mean, buildings literally had sprung up. New restaurants. I mean, I know it sounds silly and very bizarre, but that's the way it was.
And while Gray says she was typecast after Dallas, finding it difficult to get roles, never once has she let it get her down.
There's a big world out there. There's galaxies out there. What do you want to do? And, you know, how exciting to play in your garden, or how exciting to do a play in Vienna. I did all of those things.
Well, I don't believe it.
Ken Kercheval was the only cast member besides Larry Hagman to be on Dallas for all 13 seasons. As the Ewing's #1 nemesis Cliff Barnes, Kercheval saw plenty of drama off-screen as well. In 1989, a former business associate snapped and crashed through the studio gates where Dallas was filmed, reportedly looking for Kercheval.
There were some things that indicated that he might have thought about kidnapping me. The indications are that he came here indeed to commit suicide.
Ed Phillips had worked for a popcorn company that Kercheval partly owned. Phillips set his rented truck on fire and began shooting before turning the shotgun on himself. Kercheval was not at the studio that day.
We had no business together, but he had really crossed the lines into my personal life, trying any way he could to destroy my credibility. That's all.
It was in 1994 that Kercheval met with another life-threatening episode. His many years of smoking had led to cancer, and he lost half of his left lung to the disease. And Kercheval was quite animated when he described the memento of his surgery.
I got a scar. I got a scar that starts right here, comes back around here, and all the way up to just right about there at the base of my shoulder blade. I kind of look like I look like I was in Jaws, only they didn't use the dummy shark.
Today, Kercheval remembers his days on Dallas fondly, calling them luxurious and fun. And he is still awed by the numbers of people that saw him on Dallas, as opposed to the audiences when he performed on Broadway.
Of the 20 years total of all of the audiences that came to the theaters, the Broadway houses where there were 1,200 or 700 or whatever, accumulative, all of those audiences into one number, more people saw me in one episode of Dallas than had seen me for 20 years of performing.
Coming up on Dallas, the secrets of Southfork.
The breakup of Charlene Tilton's marriage and reports of abuse.
It was a very, very painful time in my life.
What brought Patrick Duffy back to Dallas after he quit? His secret meeting with Larry Hagman.
Larry says, Patrick, come on out here to Malibu. I want to get in the jacuzzi and talk to you about something.
And the madness behind Who Shot JR.
The pilot threatened not to land unless I told him who shot JR.
That's next.
Who Shot JR was one of the highest rated shows in TV history. Did you watch? Who did you originally think was the shooter? Share your memories of the historic episode by clicking on to our ET website.
This is Entertainment Tonight, and you're watching Dallas, the secrets of Southfork.
As the sex pile Lucy Ewing, Charlene Tilton was once earning $50,000 a week. So, when she was abruptly evicted from Southfork during the show's 7th season, it came as a total surprise.
It was not my choice, I do know that. I got a call out of the blue saying that they weren't going to renew my contract. And I was shocked.
Charlene was let go from the role that turned her into an overnight sensation. She'd been told the writers didn't know what to do with her character anymore, but fans deluged the producers with letters of protest.
They ended up bringing me back, which was very nice. Do it.
Tilton was only 17 when she began as JR's sexy niece. Victoria Principal remembers that Charlene was not the temptress she played on screen. In fact, at the very start of Dallas, Charlene was afraid to sleep alone in her hotel room.
I don't think she'd ever really been away from home. And during the miniseries, Charlene actually spent a number of the nights not sleeping in her room, but on my bed, wrapped up in my bedspread. She was my sweet little baby kitten.
But producers thought she was older and often put her into some very mature situations.
I actually liked some of the times when I got to play scenes where I was drunk or stoned or kidnapped or beat up or something where I could get a little messed up.
Her natural sex appeal was played to the hilt.
Oh, of course that spilled into my life because I am a sex goddess, of course. Can't you see?
And despite a set filled with strong female characters, Charlene says that catfights were nowhere to be seen.
I know the press and people would love to hear that they were fighting, that the women were catfighting, that Victoria and I hated each other and Linda hated... but none of that was true.
In 1982, Tilton married country singer Johnny Lee after only knowing him 6 months. After their daughter Cherish was born, the marriage crumbled, and the tabloids claimed he had abused her.
It was a very, very painful time in my life, but, I mean, going through divorce always is.
In 1990, during season 12, Tilton said goodbye to Southfork for good, this time on her own terms. But still, it felt like she was leading her family.
When I was shooting my last close-up, then it hit me. Wow, this has been almost half my life doing this show.
Charlene continued to act in plays and films. In 1985, she married her second husband, musician Dominic Allen, but the union only lasted 6 years. She took to designing sexy sportswear and swimwear, and even posed topless to help promote her line. Last year, she surprised Hollywood by taking a job as a gossip columnist for the Globe.
Because I know what it is like to be on the other end of the tabloid.
She says she only writes happy tidbits about the stars and never anything malicious or mean. She's raised her daughter as a single mother, and today, Cherish is starting her own acting career, watching Mom on Dallas for tips.
My daughter has watched a couple of the reruns, and she's like, wow, Mom, that's a good show. Mom, I can't believe you're doing that. I'm like, it's acting, honey. Don't you go try that at home? You'll be grounded.
Patrick Duffy played Charlene's Uncle Bobby, but in 1985, he decided he'd had enough of Dallas, and in a bold move, his character died when he was run down by a car, leaving the show with a very big hole to fill.
It wasn't a departure for any other reason than finding out what the world was like out there and if I could utilize where I had been to go somewhere else.
The success of the ensemble cast of Dallas led Duffy to believe that he was ready to venture out on his own. However, the world was not necessarily ready for Duffy.
I went to England, did a mini-series, I did commercials, I did all kinds of things, and nothing was as good as where I had been. Well, I'm not nervous.
Patrick was 29 years old when Dallas first aired, and almost instant public acceptance of the show propelled Duffy into the limelight. It was something he wasn't ready for.
I wasn't prepared for the amount of incursions into my private life. I had a hard and fast rule. My children were never to be photographed. My wife led a very private life.
Patrick married his wife, Carlin, a former ballerina, in 1974, and they have 2 sons together. After Duffy's short departure from the show in 1985, when he was killed off, it was his friend and former co-star who prompted Patrick to return. And it was Carlin that had a premonition of how they would do it.
So I said, Pat, come on over. Let's take a jacuzzi and sit down, have a drink, and blah, blah, blah.
That was on my message machine. My wife and I came back from someplace. The light was blinking, played it back, and Larry says, Patrick, come on out here to Malibu. I want to get in the jacuzzi and talk to you about something. See, Larry and I always talk in hot water. I don't know what that's all about. But as soon as I turned that off, I looked at my wife and I said, they're going to ask me to come back on the show. And her immediate response was, the only way you could come back is if that whole last year was a dream. What's the matter?
With the 1986 season almost finished, producers shot multiple cliffhangers. But the scene where Pam finds Bobby in the shower and sets up the fact that it was all a dream was kept a secret from cast and crew.
We did an Irish Spring commercial. We took all day and had cases of Irish Spring, and I turned around in that shower 100 times, all lathered up, turn around and go, good morning. And you can have a good morning, too, if you wake up like the Duffys with. And then we did this commercial over and over and over again so that they would think it was really that. And then he just cut out that one part, and it was taken to New York by briefcase and put into the master just before airtime.
The timing was perfect for Duffy to return, for he would need the closeness of his Dallas family to help him through a personal tragedy.
People have a very difficult time bringing up the fact that my parents were murdered when I came back on the show.
Gunned down in Montana by 2 men trying to rob their bar, Duffy did not have to face the hardship alone.
Everything and everybody was just so supportive. And when I came back, it was, it's the type of thing that when they're real good friends, there's never a difficult moment. There was never a, ooh, can we talk? Can we do? Can we this? Can we that? It was all like, we're all members of the same family. So they all went through it to a certain degree with me.
Duffy, who directed 30 episodes during the season run, stayed on until 1991 when the series went off the air. Feeling the end in sight, Patrick was already planning for the future and the sitcom Step by Step, which also starred Suzanne Summers.
So literally when the show was over, we had the pilot was almost written. Suzanne and I had never met yet, but we knew we were both each being, told about the other person. So it was just a matter of as soon as the show was over.
But Duffy's fondest memories of his career will forever remain in Southfork.
Everything was so mystical in the sense that it was meant to be. And you could never, nor should you want to escape from that family of Dallas.
Coming up on Dallas, the secrets of Southfork.
Priscilla Presley, from wife of the king to primetime star.
I was never really driven to acting. I really enjoyed being a housewife.
Why she was scared to join the cast.
There was so many tabloid stories about the cast members, what they were, fighting about.
And the fateful phone call that saved Larry Hagman's life.
Doctor said, I got good news and bad news.
That's coming up.